Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and this is Big Baby Reviews. We got a special one for you today, a special project that I had the privilege of working on, and that relates to a big, huge comic event in the 90s, maybe the hugest, the death of Superman. I am joined once again by Mark Darden here, who spearheaded this project, and I'm going to let him kind of go off on the zeitgeist and exactly how this project came to be. Mark, you want to give us some details on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So back with the KayFabe channel, and they would go through reviewing big comics and impact comics, and the death of Superman was a huge one. I do remember when I was a kid, and like it was national news that DC was going to kill Superman. It was even emotional for people because Superman going back to the 30s, like people had known him since he was a kid, or since they were a kid. So even though not a real person it meant a lot to a lot of people. So for DC to do that was a huge impact moment as they were trying to compete with the comics that were up and coming that were taking their market shares. So kayfabe guys reviewed it, and when they got done reviewing it, one of their big points was that while it was an impactful moment and the artist that was on board for it is a great storyteller. I mean, he does great layouts, everything looks very good, but it wasn't the violent display that it should have been for Superman dying. There wasn't nearly the city destruction that should have been seen for, like, if Superman's battling something that is as powerful as him, or maybe even a little bit more, the whole city should be gone. I mean, there's just the level
We
of
need some
destruction.
collateral damage, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, the level of destruction, the fact that they looked so clean at the end, like Superman just looked like he was taking a nap. They really were a bit upset about it. Like this doesn't connect with the level of battle this is. So Ed was very much like somebody should, like picture if Simon Bisley had done it, somebody should go out and make that. Hey, K Fabers, why don't you get on it? So from that, Dr. Ben started talking with Eli about doing it. And then Eli basically had too much going on as he was moving into self-publishing and getting more and more busy with that. And then I had initially just signed up to draw one of the pages because there was a list that was put out of like people who want to draw pages. I signed up to draw one, and then I basically got asked to like, hey, will you step in and co-produce this? And then it turned in from co-production to just producing the book, as Dr. Ben got too busy too. So I just ended up running the thing. Um, so from there, I mean, we had a list of artists who wanted to do it, and then reached out and started plugging holes, and reaching out to people. Can you do this or do that? And then other elements just got found. There were people who kind of like, oh, I see you guys are doing this. I did this thing over here. So elements ended up in the book because of people reaching out and falling across what other people were working on. So a lot of things came together to make it an even bigger project than initially intended. Uh, and then it came out. We were pretty proud and excited. The kayfabe guys had said there'd be a video, so we were super stoked to see the video come out and see the review. And then something happened behind the scenes that it never happened. They received the books. One of my favorite videos was when someone mentioned it in the comments. They were doing a King Faber video, and I think it was Milo who was like, "Hey, what about Kayfabe: The Death of Superman?" And Ed was like, "Oh yeah, I heard some guys are working on that." And then Jim was like, "Yeah, I got a copy." What? And I don't? And it was hilarious. Ed looked like a kid on Christmas or whatever, where he sees like his big brother got a present, like, what the heck? Where's mine? And then Jim had to assure him, like, no, it's okay. Your copy got sent to the post box, the PO box. So they were like, oh, that'll be a video sooner rather than later. And then something behind the scenes messed it up. And don't really ever have a solid answer on it. But oh well, we still made a really, really cool project with a lot of great art in it. It's still a fun thing to look back on. So,
Yeah, to kind of just dovetail off a little bit of some of your comments, as far as the actual Death of Superman book, yeah, very solid artist with Dan Jurgens, but it's just really kind of done in that DC house style of the time that
mhm.
really didn't reflect, I think, the times, right? Like the 90s kind of vibe. Image Comics, that extreme level of detail, and
Mhm.
a lot of independent publishers doing some very, let's just say the gore and the violence was up to at least a little bit in those early 90s comics. So I think the idea with this project was just to, make each scene much more impactful and much, let's be honest, much more violent, much more bloody, and it really have the impact that it should in a world-shattering conflict between Doomsday and Superman. And like I said, I was lucky enough to be able to work on the project. So as we go through the book, I'll be, Mark will be able to give us a bit of backstory maybe and background on some of the artists other than me who've joined in, and on the stuff that I did. Very couple of little contributions there. I can give people a little bit more detail on my thought process and stuff on that. Also, what I'd like to do is we're going to kind of go from the original issue 75 of Superman, the death of Superman, and kind of compare and contrast what's going on between both versions. So this cover here, obviously inspired by the poly bag that the book came in. So I'll give you guys a quick shot of that. So when you bought the death of Superman, and again, you talked about the event and kind of the media hype about it. This was early on in my collecting days, so I was like, oh my, I didn't know much about comics. I was like, oh my God, they're gonna kill Superman. And I remember my dad going, yeah, and they'll bring him back at some point, right? I'm sure it's been done before. And I was like, no, this is it. It's the 90s and Superman, he's not relevant anymore, and that's why they're doing this. I was all into the image stuff. Yeah, exactly. We've got another shot of the back. There we go, of the bag here on screen. Um, the only comic book I waited in line for, right? At my local
Oh,
comic shop back in the day. Yeah, there was an actual lineup to buy this
wow.
comic. And the guy who owned the shop back then, Dave's Comics, I remember, in North Bay, Ontario, actually was limiting to each customer one copy, right? Because I don't think he had ordered as much as he thought that the demand would be. So he had to kind of limit it. So I actually was able to convince my dad and my mom to stay in line with me and each grab an extra copy. So we brought 3 copies home that day. Yeah, of a book that sold millions and is probably worth 50 cents today, right?
Right, right. No, it's a hilarious
It's a
counter
moment in time, man.
economics actually works.
It's a moment in time. It's the height of the comics bubble, I think. Image contributed to that, but this is definitely one of those events, big events that contributed to it within the mainstream of comics at that time within Marvel and DC.
One extra point is it was a sort of a 6-issue battle. I think there were some issues that led up to it, but it was a 6 issues dealing with Doomsday. And if I recall correctly, they actually reduced the number of panels for each page in an issue as they got closer. So before they got to
Yeah,
this full splash page issue, it was like 6 panels per page. Then they went to 5, then they went to 3, then they went to or 4, then 3, then 2. And Dan Jurgens worked really well within that and did a lot of different layouts to make the different panels work where it wasn't just the same thing page after page. But I think their big point from Kayfabe was when you got to the splash pages, he just wasn't that level of detail artist for splash pages to really pop and sing versus when he was working with 3 panels, 4 panels, 5 panels. He was a great
yeah,
storyteller and he filled those out fantastically.
yeah. I just think he's a solid artist. He's been working for years in the comic industry, really solid guy. It's just maybe the book was maybe just a little bit underwhelming, I guess is the
Mhm.
word I use. So here we've got kind of the recreation of the back cover, I guess, of the poly bag, and then we've got an actual shot here of the cover.
So there's
Kayfabe.
one other note about the cover. So the cover was a combination of doing the polybag and also Death Blow #1.
Okay, I
So
I totally see it now. I didn't know that.
yeah,
That's a
it
detail I
was
didn't know.
so we were kind of meshing the era of doing the subtle black polybag, but doing Death Blow style cover. So we
Sure.
were kind of like, here's the inspiration that's altering this book.
We're it's almost like we're imagifying the death of Superman a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. What
Yeah.
if what if Image kind of guys had done the death of Superman?
Oh yeah. Would have been a very different issue.
So we can compare and contrast again, once again, real quick with So this, I think there's a recreation somewhere in the book of this. I could be wrong on that in the kayfabe book, but this is the original cover of the Death of Superman, just so we again can compare with the kayfabe, the Death of a Super cover.
Yeah, completely different.
Yes, yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
Lots, as we talked about, the cover is pretty much indicative of what you'll see in the book. Lots of gore, lots of violence, lots of maiming. You've got Doomsday back here, just the torso, his arms cut off, spiked through the chest. Superman's holding his own head and using his laser vision, which is a nice touch. I always thought that
Yeah.
was pretty cool. And there's, we will mention the project didn't just stick to the actual comic and the interior pages. There's lots of, mock ads, as you can see one of them here, and some extra bit of bonus material here. I'll just mention, and you talk about it a little bit. This is our friend Ben Perkins. I'm not mistaken on that, right? Who
Yep.
kind of created just a few page summary of what had gone on in those prior issues you were talking about in the lead up to the actual Death of Superman issue.
Yeah. So the cover was by the actual cover underneath what was the polybag cover was Kevin Delgado. Just want to throw that in there.
Yeah,
And he did a
absolutely.
really nice job. And then the idea with the outer cover was to sort of simulate the polybag. Um, the ad inside, I just thought DC Comics, like Superstar Wrestling, like how is that not already a video game? Like that the industry is slipping if they didn't think kids would want to play superheroes wrestling. Like an obvious combination.
Makes total sense.
It makes total sense. So yeah, this was another spot where an artist was able to jump on the project and did some really good work. So Kevin did the main image, and so I apologize for blanking on the name for the smaller shots, but it was all done to be a big, huge ad. And then Ben, yeah, I had mentioned since we were just doing the main issue, like why didn't we have a GI Joe yearbook style recap of the issues that led up to it? And Ben, who was originally slated to draw one or two pages, hopped onto it and took it on. And it's amazing what he did. Each half a page represents one of the six issues leading up, which is, I mean, super impressive when you think about it. And so he had to do like the Hulk Grand Design where Jim Rugg had to go through 300 or how many, gosh, 600 issues and pick which moments are going to represent the entirety of the Hulk comic and put it into 120 pages. Ben was able to take a comic and break it down into half a page. And with some really fantastic art.
Yeah, he did a great job on this. I remember seeing it when it was being produced, and I was just floored by how well he was able to just summarize each issue in these half pages. Really
Yeah.
clear storytelling. Ben is super talented. If you're in the community, you've probably seen his work. I've commissioned him in the past to do a variant cover on my Big Baby comic, and he really delivers and really one of the really solid artists out there in the community. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm always pleased to work with Ben. I've got multiple things from him that are going to be coming out. But yeah, they're just the number of panels he did, and also some combinations where there's some panels where he's combining multiple shots into a single shot to make it work, where he could tell the story quickly. And then some of them just get crazy dense to get the job done.
Yeah. The number of panels just seems to multiply each successive kind of story point.
And some of the shots very much emulate shots that are in the book, and then some of them of the original books, and some of them are his own interpretation. And I know that some of the Doomsday shots, like this, the shot of Doomsday, like Metropolis, when he's got his fist up, I think it's taken from a wrestling promo, which makes total sense.
Gotta see if we can find that.
Oh, it's on page 3. You were,
Page three, one, two, three.
yeah, it's on the right side. And he's there's you can see the big lettering, meh.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
very cool.
like a wrestling promo shot. Yeah,
Absolutely.
just an awesome bit. And he hopped on that. And then after he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll do the recap," then he started reading about Doomsday's origin as well. It's like, "Hey, can I also do a recap of that?" Which is in the back of the book. So like, yeah, why not? Like, let's add to the project.
Yeah, Ben, super talented and very reliable as well, right? Once, he
Yeah.
delivered and did a lot of work on this book. So,
Yeah, huge list of names of contributors. Just a ton of people that helped out on it. Um, the extra art piece there of Doomsday was a late OMAC piece where he's just doing it just for funsies, and I was like, hand that over. Let's pop that in the book.
very
Uh,
cool.
the punch out there, which obviously there's some lines in it that aren't really meant to be there. Those aren't actually in the real thing. That just has to do with the reduction of the file size. But that punch was Ben and OMAC. They kind of got on it before the project started, and they were going back and forth with OMAC was doing a Doomsday, so Ben did a Superman. OMAC did another Doomsday, so Ben did another Superman. They went back and forth and then culminated in doing this combined picture where OMAC did Doomsday and Ben did Superman.
Oh,
And
cool.
then it was just combined together, and OMAC went and colored it. So it was an amazing shot. I was like, that has to be in the book somewhere.
Of course. Yeah.
It's
So sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, so you used it for basically what we talked about earlier, how this project came to be. So you've got the whole kind of description of it right here,
Yeah,
accompanied by, an image that really kind of sums up what the book is about.
yeah, and yeah, and with the photo motif, like Jimmy on the scene taking the pictures.
Very cool. Right. So I'll blow a little bit of smoke up my ass on this one because I did
Uh,
a little bit of a contribution on
oh yeah,
just this page here. So I remember you asking me to give you Superman Red Sun. So there's my
mhm,
version of Superman Red Sun right there. And then you had asked me for, if there was a Doomsday version in that Red Sun comic,
yeah,
what would he be? Would he look like? And if you could draw something like that. And having read Red Sun, Superman as a communist, basically, as appearing in Russia instead of the
yeah.
United States. For some reason, I just felt that Doomsday would have some sort of a Nazi German vibe to him. So he's got like the armbands, but
Uh-huh,
also that German sadomasochistic bondage gear that for some
uh-huh.
reason, unfortunately, I associate with German people. And that
Okay,
was kind of the inspiration for my version of Doomsday there.
and that haircut.
Yes, yeah, very much a Nazi haircut. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Oh,
which has
yeah,
become quite popular. Maybe not so much now, but in the 2010s and the aughts, it
yeah,
was around quite a bit.
yeah. And then Zack Snyder brought it back for his Star Wars homage movie.
Yes, yeah. I didn't see that.
Oh, okay, you didn't miss a lot.
That's what I heard. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so then Missimo also did a Superman in Doomsday. So the bright blue Superman at the top is him, and the very almost cavemanish looking Doomsday is his. Then below that, or not right below it, Dustin Tyree over below yours did Superman that was literally like Earth's dinosaur era Superman, as if he landed on Earth too early.
gotcha.
And so he has the very dinosaurish Doomsday below him, as if they were battling on Earth back in the age of the dinosaurs. And then, apologize that I'm blanking on his name. Oh, Anthony Angibar did Superman of the future,
That's
sort of
this guy
from,
here,
yeah. So it fit in with, he was a big fan of the Batman. What was the Batman cartoon show after the main one where it was the
Batman
future?
Beyond.
Yeah, he was a big fan of Batman Beyond. So this is like Batman Beyond Superman with Batman Beyond Doomsday.
I mean, a
So
lot of these are just basically Elseworld type Superman and Doomsdays, right? Inspired by
yeah,
some of the different versions that we've seen across throughout the years.
yeah. And I was kind of wanting it to be like the those Marvel covers they did in the 80s where they just had all the superheroes around the border.
Kind of framing, yeah, the
Yeah.
main image. Yeah. That was super fun too, though. So you can tell me maybe more about this first page here. This is
Sure.
not officially the first page of the issue, right? Of at
Uh,
least the Death of Superman issue.
so what happened was John Campbell signed on to do the first page, and he did a version that's very much like the original, but he on his side did this page. And when I got it, I looked at it and it was such a great calm before the storm moment, the way he represented it with like Superman kind of calmly standing facing this gigantic opponent that's just overwhelming looking with the helicopters in the background. And so while it wasn't a direct representation of the original, I felt thematically it was a better opener. So I asked him and he was cool with me switching them out.
So it's almost like throwing in the panel before that first page,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
Very cool shot, very moody.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
got like I don't want to get too weird into it, but as far as real life, it's got kind of a Vietnam / 9/11 kind of vibe to it, right? With the almost like the dust in the air and stuff like that, which makes a lot of sense with what the book was trying to accomplish. Very
Yeah.
cool image.
Absolutely. It was just such a great image. I thought it was a wonderful spot to start on. Yeah. Now these pages will be much more like the originals.
Let me just so we can have a look at what we're referring to here. So that is officially the first page of the issue in the actual Death of Superman. And here's what we get with the death of a super.
So now we're not comparing the exact same pages. So we're
Am I wrong on that one?
yeah, so this first page with the punch down is page 2. We just switched out page 1. So if you go and show page 2 and page 3.
Okay. Okay.
There's page 2 where you've got the punch down, what
Gotcha.
far out shot and was showing the green men. So Alan Greenwood decided to do a close up and really smash Superman into the ground. And you can kind of see you can see a bit of Superman's cape and you can kind of see the body. It's hard to see because it's very dark into the background, but he just did a much bigger close up shot, far more brutal. You still get there's the shots coming from the Green Men who are blasting away at Doomsday ineffectively. And I think, OMAC colored it, which really got good pop colors.
Yeah.
And then the page, oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's a very cool piece. Again, what I liked about this project is that some people chose to stay pretty true to the original image and just kind of up the violence and the gore, and other people just decided to change the angles, zoom in, zoom out, and change the point of view, which was very cool that all the artists had the freedom to kind of do what they wanted with their image.
Yeah. And then the image next to it is very similar to the original, but just more brutal. The way the handhold. Yeah, the original was a weird body angle where it didn't quite make sense. And Superman he's got a little bit of blood. You can tell by his facial expression, he's in some peril. But the update version, the fact that he's just grabbing through the middle of the legs on the crotch, there's, that was such a brutal hold, but also makes way more sense in holding up a body rather than holding by the leg. He's just right in there. Obviously, Superman's more bloody, more damage. His face expression shows far more horror, where he's in a lot more trouble. Also, Tony Starry there went and gave Doomsday a subtle cod piece. You don't see where it connects, but there's a spike sticking up.
Yeah, I'll just pull down a bit there. Oh yeah, we see it.
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah, so
very
you don't
subtle.
see the connection, but it's a good gag.
I like this one because this is the kind of stuff when we're talking about what we didn't see in the DC book, right? For sure, there's no way DC would ever have Doomsday grabbing Superman's crotch. It seems like kind of a, inane kind of detail, but it just adds to the fun of it and the hilariousness and also the violence of it too, right?
Absolutely.
I don't think Doomsday would have any qualms of grabbing Superman by the crotch.
No, 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 no. He probably wouldn't even think about it. I mean, he'd just be grabbing him in the whatever spot he grabbed.
And I like this little touchdown here of the lettering Teehee, like Doomsday's enjoying himself, right? Like
Yeah.
a young schoolgirl.
And then Peter Hensel helped me. We went through and we rewrote the story as well. So we tried to pepper in a lot more Superman details and history and gave a lot more emotional moments to it. So we thought, just like the artists are upping the ante, that we should do the same.
Absolutely, yeah. So that the dialogue and the text also not just literally copied from the original book, but heightened and adapted to the stuff that the guys were doing on this book.
Yeah.
Let's just go look
Uh,
at the original page here.
oh yeah, so it's a very different, again, a very different shot. I mean, it shows the same stuff, but it's a completely different angle.
Yeah.
You can see that Doomsday is up at the top. It's very small at a distance, and Superman is coming right at you as he's been thrown through the helicopter.
So the reversed kind of point of view.
Yeah, he
Pretty cool.
reversed the point of view, and all the people are still in it. So the Green Man who's shooting at Doomsday is still in there. He's just, it's a totally different angle. You're seeing him from behind.
Very
Uh,
cool.
yeah, it was a really great shot. It's interesting, like the stretch out of Superman is cool, and how shrunken the legs appear compared to, and he's like an arrow coming at you.
Yeah, I mean the foreshortening and the perspective is very extreme, and definitely a more exciting shot than the original, right? And I think in those instances, that's what I liked about this. Like I did kind of something similar to that, where I completely changed the point of view. So the freedom to maybe have an image that's a little more tame and to like really spruce it up and energize it was a really cool factor in this project.
Yeah, I mean, Lois is falling out the helicopter, and Jimmy's caught her by the arm. I mean, that's up the stakes in the ante, big time.
Absolutely. Yeah, all those nice little details. Very cool.
Yeah,
We got an ad here on the right. Another
this is another,
video game ad.
yeah, another fun ad idea I had of just like, just it's exactly what it says it is. Lex beats Superman, the video game, with the idea being you would play Lex Luthor and be beating Superman, but it's a comedic gag because if you, it's basically like a short story because there's the panels below is that those are shots from the video game, but all the shots are the ways that Lex is beating Superman, but they're worse. Like he bought the family farm and planted kryptonite in it. He's been slowly, so Superman's been aged. He also went out and copyrighted Superman's logo and costume, so
Of
Superman
course.
can't use it
Yeah, yeah,
anymore. And then somehow Lois got pregnant, and she doesn't even know how, but he knows Lex was involved somehow. So it's just totally like Lex just at every angle is just coming at Superman, beating him beyond the physical. It's almost like if Lex was in the spot of Bane going after Batman.
sure. Yeah.
Beating him psychologically and on a much more personal level.
Yeah, not just physically, but playing mind games and stuff. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that was a fun one. And art on it was great.
So,
Another shot that's very different. Yeah.
oops, let me get that sorted out. There we go. Let me just have a look at the original so everyone kind of knows what we're talking about. So that is the original there, and
Yeah.
that is the kayfabe reinterpretation there on the left.
Right. The original's much more of a like he's flying them somewhere versus this one's much more kind of like the movie where he was bringing down the I think the plane. Like there's just a sense of him floating down, holding the helicopter. Also it got a manga feel. Like if you look at Lois and her face and body shape, totally gave me a manga vibe. I think even the way Superman's drawn is a little bit more manga-ish. A lot of good details of the building, kind of a bit like Spawn and that, where the buildings are very, they've got a lot of realism to them while still being cartoonish enough. A lot of great
Yeah,
smoke and clouds.
I like the coloring effect here. The way he did the sun, I think, is really cool in the background there behind him, and kind of the extreme reflection on Superman's kind of backside and leg and arm here.
Yeah,
Really, really effective, really cool image.
yeah, all those buildings are smashed. Jimmy's still getting the action shots,
Yeah,
still playing his role. And that also influenced the lettering because I switched over to a more manga bubble style for the comic because I originally I started lettering the comic and this was one of the first pages I did, and so I specifically did a lettering style for it and then went, I like that. I think I'm just gonna carry that along.
all right, so the next page from the original book is the image that you see before you here. And now we're going to take a look at the kayfabe death of a super version, which is the page on the right here. What can you
Yeah,
tell us about this one, Mark?
yeah, very different. Obviously, because it got split into three panels to focus a bigger. The artist wanted a bigger shot of Doomsday being far more monstrous, and then Lois trying to convince Superman, and obviously he looks battle damaged, and then he still has his moment of facing the crowd. It initially started with Sean Tolson, who was going to do the page himself, and then he got busy, so the layout was done, and that got passed to Dustin Tyree, who then worked from the layout to make the page, and it worked out really nice. And it was one of the pages where obviously it's very dramatic. Doomsday is far more imposing looking rather than the way he originally is in the background. But we also got a chance again to write much more of a significant moment for the characters in his speech. I mean, what we wrote was not what was there originally. It was a great chance to personalize how meaningful the battle was for Superman. But the shot at Doomsday, I mean, the muscle, the sinew, all the spikes, he's super impressive looking. I think it's another one where OMAC steps in on colors. So there's those nice background shading areas, which helps to frame Doomsday while keeping the red, which has an intense feel to it.
Yeah, and always gives that sense of violence, right?
Yeah, and Superman being up front with Lois behind him, I thought was a better shot because that way, like, he's standing in front of her to keep her safe.
Protecting her, yeah.
Yeah, and she's appealing to him from behind, still trying to appeal to him to survive.
Is this the only page with multiple panels?
No, a couple of artists did it. Most of them stuck with the splash page, but a few people broke from that to do it differently.
Which just shows you again the freedom they had to kind of make it their own and do something different. And not anything I would have thought of, but I think it works really well. And it just helps to add maybe a little bit more of a storytelling touch to it, to the whole book, rather than it just being full splash pages all the way throughout. I also really appreciate the two bottom shots of Superman because to me they're kind of, almost like you rarely see, at least in DC books, Superman with gritted teeth. And here we're kind of getting like a Rob Liefeld kind of image version of Superman a little bit, with at least with those facial expressions.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the original, he looks very intense. Like, he knows he's in the fight for his life. He's already hurt. He's maybe even a little angry or at least intense. Yeah. Versus the original moment, he looks a little, honestly, kind of sorrowful. Almost like, well, I guess this is happening.
Yeah.
Versus in this, he's like, I have to do this. Like, the whole world's in the balance here. So I think the two artists did a great job of making that happen as well.
The stakes are definitely a little more obvious here in this book than in the original DC publication, for sure. So we'll move down to the next two pages, take a quick look at the original.
Yeah.
Let me just, there we go.
This one stays pretty close.
This is a pretty iconic shot, I got to say, from the book. Like, it's one of those images in my mind that stuck, right, that I remember. So I think it makes sense not to mess around with it too much,
Yeah, kind of the one change is it's a little bit more of an impassioned kiss.
Yeah.
The original looks more like a smooch versus this one's like, yeah. Versus this one, there's definitely much more of a, like, these are two people that are really into each other. And
who are thinking it might be their last kiss as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And this was another one where we got a chance to add a lot more to the story in it because he's actually in like the split second this is happening. He's going back through their life together and his memories of different moments, which I thought that added a lot if you take the time to read it. So this little split second is much more meaningful.
Very cool. So the next one, the original is this right here.
Another one that stays pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ray really wanted to stay close. The bright colors, the pop colors are amazing.
Well, again, I think these are two maybe of the more iconic shots in the book, in the original, so it makes sense not to mess with them too much,
Yeah, I really loved the colors from it. Added a lot.
Very cool.
Superman leaping into battle one last time. And then we get a big change, kind of.
Someone was actually turned a splash into a double splash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the original.
The original you'll see extremely different.
Yeah.
But this is another one where the postured didn't make a lot of sense in the original.
It's always a
Like I
little
thought,
weird to me. A weird shot, or at least a
yeah,
weird angle or point of view to it. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it looks like he's trying to crash into, well, he should be trying to crash into his abdomen and maybe like a football kind of tackle, but it ends up looking like he's trying to nut punch him.
Inadvertently, right? Like not on purpose, but yeah, it does look like he's nut punching him, which is like he's headbutting his abdomen and nut punching him
Yeah.
at the same
I mean,
time.
the angle of the head just doesn't make sense at all in this.
Just a
Like,
little awkward, yeah.
yeah, it was a very weird pick. So Alan wanted to totally change the angle to have them crashing into each other. He obviously put a lot more battle damage in there and wanted to double page spread it so he could get bigger impact. I mean, the level of detail Alan puts in is amazing. Uh, Doomsday is just massive and obviously looks much calmer. As the glowing eyes for Superman also a lot
That's
more intensity.
always a fun touch when we do the glowing eyes on Superman. Always tends to make him look obviously much more fearsome than he usually looks. Originally I think we all kind of think back to that shot in that Alan Moore written story where Mongol puts some sort of. Have you read the story where Mongol puts a parasite on Superman
Yeah,
for his birthday, right?
yeah.
And he's kind of reliving or hallucinating a life on Krypton where Krypton didn't explode. And then once Batman, Wonder Woman, and Robin, I believe, eventually succeed in getting the parasite off of him, Superman realizes what's happened. And it's just in that moment where Mongol, grabs Superman's head and doesn't realize that Superman isn't under the spell of the parasite. And that iconic shot where he's just got the shadow of the hand going over his face, the eyes are red, he's angry, and he just says "burn." Right? Such a great Superman moment.
Yeah. And that story was completely copycatted in Secret Wars, the rewrite Secret Wars,
Oh,
where
really?
yeah, where the future Hulk, the one who's the I forget the name of him, but he's the Hulk who's very smart in the future who's running things.
The Maestro.
Maestro, yes, and they do the same thing to him.
Yeah.
He thinks he's taken over the world and is running things, and it's all just a fantasy they've thrown him into.
Interesting. Yeah, listen, Alan Moore being copied in the world of comic books, post his work, not surprised at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, great double page splash here. Love all the detail. Really kind of again, like an image version of the Superman Doomsday fight to me. A lot of noodly detail. Looks
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, that leg's gonna get infected.
I would think so. Yeah, it's pretty deep wound.
So then
My
we're on
favorite. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
So I'll talk a little bit more since this is my page.
Mhm.
Give you some insight into that, I guess, since I'm actually here and I can give you a bit more backstory on it. So the original page is this one here.
Mhm.
And I came into the project a little bit late. And I think originally there were no pages left. And then you got back to me and said, oh no, the page, whatever it is, 16 or 17 is available. And I checked it
Yeah,
out.
maybe this was one that Ben was on, so he moved on to doing the other parts.
And I was more than happy because I really, I was kind of disappointed not to be able to participate originally. And maybe I could have done a pinup or something or whatever. But when you came back to me with the page, I almost in my mind had this thought of, okay, it's probably not going to be the greatest page. Let's just be honest, because I'm last, and that's fine. I was going to take whatever was handed. And then when I got this one, I was like, oh man, this really is the most far away shot from the action and the least interesting image. Not that it's a bad illustration, right?
Right.
And again, I was going to take whatever you were going to give me, and I was more than happy to participate. But I was like, man, what can I do with this page? I don't want to draw it the way it is for sure. I want to make it more impactful, with the goals of the project, what the idea was. What can I do with this page? And I remember looking at it for a few minutes and just trying to figure something out, right? Because the focus seems to be on the helicopter and these guys in the green suits who I think work for LexCorp, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, where's the real action happening? It's far away in the background. So I need to zoom in on where the action's happening. And I just got the idea looking down here, right? Seeing Superman, crashing into Doomsday, crashing into the bus through the building. I'm like, that's definitely the pivotal moment. I need to focus on that. I think I'm going to just change the point of view completely. I was like, what if we're on the bus, right? That's driving around Metropolis, and all of a sudden Superman and Doomsday just come crashing through, and I was like, I think that's a good idea. So that's what I went with. But I wanted to make sure that, again, like the previous page we saw earlier, where the point of view is kind of just completely shifted to the other side, kind of similar to that is what I'm doing, or what I did with my page. So this is the original, and this again is just the point of view from completely the other side, from within the bus. Now, little details that maybe you don't notice right away that first of all, I because we're inside the bus, I'm like, how am I going to make it so we see that building behind, right, where Superman's crashing through? And this is the same building. I used it as reference and stuff, and it's got the same architecture and windows and whatever. Um, and I was thinking, we need, if we're inside the bus, we're not going to see the building really behind the smoke and stuff through what I kind of assume is the doorway of the side door of the bus, right? That he's kind of crashing through here. And I thought, well, you know, in a world of superheroes, in a city like Metropolis, where you've got superheroes flying around all the time, I figure that they would engineer the buses to have skylight or sky windows, right? So that as you're, driving through Metropolis, in this bus, if a superhero just happens to fly by, you'll be able to see him, right? So that was my idea. And that also solved the problem of me seeing the top of the building. And of course, I still wanted to reproduce the scene pretty accurately. So we've got the LexCorp goons up here flying around, and we've got the helicopter in silhouette. So it really is the exact same scene from a different point of view. Now,
Yeah.
of course, in the original, we don't see what's happening inside the bus. So that was my opportunity to up the violence, up the gore, and that's what I went with here. I'm really happy with this image. I got to say, I feel so, a lot of artists, we're never satisfied with our own work. But looking back on it, I'm really happy with the movement of Superman, the foreshortening, right? I think it's pretty clear that that's Doomsday from the back, right? His arms kind of spread out. The insane amount of glass that I threw in here, the broken glass, is just looking back to me. I don't know if I'd ever do this ever again, but it really works, and I really like it. And you got the bigger pieces in the foreground and the smaller pieces over here. I think it works really well. Just any glass in this bus, anything off panel here, the windows, is shattering as well. I want to just give the sense that bus is destroyed. I added little kind of digital displays here that I would imagine you see on a bus or on a metro or a train, right? Metropolis Metro, next stop Daily Planet, right? Like little storytelling details, because this is happening in front of the Daily Planet. And of course, the sound effect, because I was figuring the speed that Superman's flying through that building and crashing in Doomsday, in my mind, these two super powerful beings, that would create like a sonic boom, right? So that's why I threw that in there. And again, the gore is, I'm imagining these people are standing in the bus, and as there's the impact of Superman pushing Doomsday, the bus, it's not that they're staying where they are, but the bus is slamming into them, right? And that's why we've got, this guy over here, half his body's been mashed, hers as well. He's, his shoulder is just kind of, his arm is gone here. And then if you look closely, well, there's the arm flying off in the distance. Some intestines on the side here from our characters kind of flying, towards the point of impact. And just a small, stupid little detail that I think is kind of hilarious is that this woman had her baby. So the baby's flying off. Didn't go as far as to actually say the baby's killed or anything. I don't think so. Right. He's still alive right here. But all these fun little details that I was able to insert, I'm really happy with, and really happy with this piece. The one difference from what I had originally submitted, you would ask me if I'd be okay with it being recolored, which of course, because I remember you mentioning, to keep the consistency with the color tones and scheme throughout the book. I had no problem with that. So this page has been recolored from my original, but you were nice enough to put my original colored pinup later on in the book. I tend to have kind of a more kind of crazy out there psychedelic kind of color scheme. So I was definitely cool with that. And I like the little touch of Jeffrey, who colored it, once again, throwing in those glowing red eyes. And also, I just wanted to make sure, that details were consistent. As I looked at previous pages, the damage to Superman, the rips in his costume and stuff, it's pretty consistent with what we've seen before.
Yeah, that had to be a challenge because everybody was working on theirs at the same time. Or so a lot of people, Yeah, we didn't really put a lot of focus on like, okay, on this page, there's this much damage. So people are kind
Sure.
of on their own how much they wanted to create that continuity of the costume damage.
Which is fine, right? You want to give the artist the leeway and the freedom to do what they want, and that's cool. For me, I just thought it'd be a nice little detail to make sure that the damage and stuff on Superman is fairly consistent, right? The bruise on his forehead here, and for sure he had to have blood coming out of his mouth because this is not your dad's DC Comics. So anything I could throw in, to make this more kind of extreme, the angle, the foreshortening, the perspective, the broken glass, the blood, the maiming, all of that. I think it came out really well, and I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, it was a ton of detail. I also was a big fan of the black and white version of it, which went in the book as well. The shadow or well silhouettes of the two flying guys in the helicopter in the background was a great touch to keep them in the shot. And it was a good change. Because the original shot is mostly just buildings and it's a shot of people looking down upon the action
Well,
versus
the action's way off in the background, right? So I figured, we want to bring it up close. It's a splash page and stuff. So I'm just really happy with how it came out. I feel it's pretty in your face and pretty dynamic, and I succeeded in what I wanted to do with it. So next page, we'll look at the original real quick. So that's Doomsday throwing Superman headfirst into the ground, which I gotta say, maybe this is one of the more fun shots of the original book. Kind of
yeah,
almost like a wrestling move.
yeah, he's really just spearing him into the ground. Although I think part of our thing with this one is that while it's cool that he's just kind of spiking him into the ground, it's a little ridiculous that his body's so straight based on how he's being slammed, the position of the hands.
That's where the wrestling kind of aspect comes into it, because in wrestling, although we're meant to believe the guys are fighting each other, they're actually cooperating. So Superman would literally, in this case, have to voluntarily keep his body nice and stiff so that Doomsday could mash his head into the asphalt, which is kind of hilarious.
Yeah. And then the reinterpretation, Doomsday is far more brutal and monstrous looking. I mean, he's just much more terrifying looking with the teeth and the spikes and the hair, the veins, or lines of rock that look like veins. Uh, and then the body posture is far more realistic and him getting slammed into the ground. I mean, he's much more like mangled into the ground with his head sideways. Battle damage is there. It's a really fun shot. Plus the explosion detail in the background also stands out more. It's less the action lines while there's still color action, but much more of just this impact of dirt and debris flying up from him being smashed into the ground.
And in this case, with Superman's posture, really, he's not in control right here. He's kind of being flailing about and being smashed into the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Great
definitely,
shot.
definitely more believable in Doomsday kind of having the upper hand in this shot, rather than, like I said, some wrestling match where the two guys are cooperating.
And then we get another one where it broke from the single page format.
So that's
Um,
the original here.
yeah. The original, I'm trying to remember where there's an indicator of Superman coming back, but I'm not seeing it at the moment. Oh, oh no, never mind. I'm thinking of a different page. Yeah, it's just Jimmy and Lois talking about trying to get in there to help. Which like, yeah, what can you guys do? And so the artist went much more with like an Archie look and feel to it. I mean, Jimmy Olsen pretty much looks like Archie in this, and Doomsday in a very cartoonish way is just massive behind them, kind of like a Scooby-Doo monster popping up in the background of
Yeah, I get kind of Fred Hembeck vibes a little bit with this style of cartooniness on this page here. I
yeah,
like the
it's
detail too of the one-way sign kind of sticking out of Doomsday's back there.
yeah, and he's got a piece of Superman's cape on one of his spikes, and it wonderfully breaks from a lot of the look. I mean, like there's different artists with different styles, but it's very 90s action, violence, gore, detail, and then we get this shot that just breaks from it, sort of like a moment of calm in a way, even though there's things happening.
Well, it's technically the only page, or one of the only pages where there's not no actual specific violence or conflict going on. Superman's not actually on this page, so that conflict between the two, it's kind of a slight break in that bit of action. So the next page is here's the original.
Yeah. Is they're like, oh no, and scared, and here's Superman popping up out of the ground like he's back. And the artist broke from that significantly.
Yeah, I could almost like believe that Superman's on his way to, fisting Doomsday in the butt there.
Yeah. Another one of those going for the dirty area.
So yeah, quite a change with this page here. Is Doomsday like what is he doing there? He's shooting a selfie with the Jimmy
Yeah.
Olsen's camera.
Yep. He's decided to take a moment and put
Pose for
himself
the
on
camera.
TV. He's posing for the camera. Yep.
But
And
still ultimately the same shot of Superman coming back out of the ground.
yeah, except he pops out and hits him with a heat vision.
Very cool. All right.
Oh, it gets amazing now. Yeah.
Well, now, yeah, we get to let's have a quick look at the original. So again, following last page, I guess Superman
Oh,
actually is.
actually, so this is where we made a slight change. So pop to the next page because this page actually got moved, and there's a reason why, and we'll get to it later. Oh, what I mean, flip to the original next page.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. If you go to what was, so this was the original shot that he's working off of, where Superman laser
This one
beam
here.
data
Gotcha.
wall. So OMAC changed the angle. Obviously, also made the shot, the heat vision, look like it's doing far more. You know, like you actually see it damaging and hurting Doomsday as it's blasting him back. And it's not just pushing him into a wall, he's shooting him up into the air. So a lot more drama to it.
Yeah. Again,
And
a
we,
lot more violence and gore. Some
yeah,
guts, some blood and guts flying out there.
yeah, the color's really pretty. The mostly red scene works a lot. Um, it's a little bit, it gives me a little bit of the Frank Miller Dark Knight Return vibe in the shape of the body.
The proportions, the anatomy of the characters. Even Superman's quite bulky down there. So yeah, I get what you're saying with the Dark Knight vibes.
Yeah. The
Very
former page gets moved, so we'll get back to it.
gotcha. Yeah, the color really successful on this one. Really looks good.
And then this next shot also kind of faithfully follows the original, but just ups the violence and the detail.
Yeah, so we've got the same kind of framing, same kind of layout, but
Mm.
yeah, like you said, just much more gore, violence, and blood. In the original, Superman's chin's kind of nicked by
Yeah. Nicked.
Doomsday's knee bony protrusion, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call that,
He's
and
like,
just makes total sense. Why not just have it bust through his chin into his mouth, which is a nice touch there. Very cool.
yeah, and the spike is far more detailed. I mean, it's all kind of jagged pieces coming off. Um, Doomsday's hand is in the original, but in this version, he's also, well, pulling at some intestines. So this battle's going terribly.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
a nice touch right there. I like that.
yeah, Superman's getting one eye beam out in this version, so he is blasting back.
You got a bit of smoke coming off of Doomsday's forehead, and also I hadn't noticed before, but just the blood coming out of Superman's mouth is spurting into Doomsday's mouth.
Yep, he did that on purpose. He thought that was hilarious. So
It's a sick little touch, but I like it.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, the muscle detail on Doomsday as well. It's just very tan. If you've seen other projects with like
Yeah,
Dark
yeah,
1 and 2 and whatnot, he was involved in a bunch of stuff. But yeah, great page. Just so much more detailed. I mean, it's the epitome of like by the letter what the concept was. Is take the
yeah.
original and up the ante on it.
Very cool. Yeah, it's one of those pages that's an example of staying very true to the original, but just bringing everything up to 11, Spinal Tap style.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Oh, okay. So again, we're actually going to end up skipping a page and it'll be for the same reason. So we're not showing this page, we're showing that one. Yeah.
so this is the original,
Yep.
and
So
this is the reinterpretation.
yeah. So the original where he kicks the knee spike off, but instead Christopher decided to obviously change the angle significantly to give it this much more interesting psychedelic angle, but decided he stomps the knee. So he literally snaps the knee that just hit him in the jaw.
Oh yeah, there's no meniscus left. There's no ACL left. It's just the knee is completely destroyed here.
Yeah.
And I gotta say that the detail of Doomsday's, face and the look of pain is really well done there.
Yeah. And
And this
then
extra, I just noticed Lois Lane barfing back here. Love
yep.
that. I love the little details like that. Very cool.
Jimmy's still taking pictures, and the people are hanging out in the background watching the fight, which is nuts that they're not all running.
Yeah, exactly. You would just stand around while Superman
Yeah.
and some big baddie is destroying the city.
And then we got another fun ad. I don't think there was a comparable to this in the comic. Like some of the ads are spoofs of the original, but this was another one where I was like, how did this not exist? Because there was Rock'em Sock'em Robots,
Yeah.
which was, it was sort of a board. It wasn't exactly a board game. It was kind of mechanical game you could play where you're controlling a little guy and the other guy's controlling a guy in a boxing ring and you're trying to hit each other's guy to make the head pop. And so this was Rock'em Sock'em Supers. Like, why would you not have that game thing and then go and license and do different themes for it?
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
So next, oh, I do remember this shot from the original,
Yeah,
right in front of the Daily
right.
Planet.
The building, straight on shot. So he kept the original angle, but just increased the gore because instead it's Doomsday given an elbow behind, Superman having that obvious side damage, which had been started with you see it in several of the other shots, like Barry Tan's shot, there's the intestine thing.
Yeah.
So it carried on here, Superman getting him in a headlock, but taking an elbow at the same time. And then you really used the lettering as a big part of the background of displaying the damage, but also framing the figures via the lettering.
And I like this little like the destruction and the breaking of the concrete and stuff here is really awesome. And
Yeah.
just the letters of the Daily Planet just kind of being pushed all around in different directions really adds to the chaos of the scene and works really
Yeah.
well.
The
As well
building,
as this kind of this blast radius down here.
yeah, the letters falling off, so they're still where you can read them, but
Yeah,
they've gotten jumbled as they're flying off and falling. Is a real nice touch.
absolutely. So next page, another kind of Superman versus Doomsday splash. Kind of change the
Oh,
angle a little
so
bit.
well, what happens here is Omac kind of did two versions. He did this punch page, and I was like, that's so detailed and gorgeous. We're just gonna add it in. It doesn't really replace any original shot. It's just an
Gotcha.
extra.
Okay.
It was too good not to include it.
Yeah, and he's still going with those Dark Knight kind of physiques on both characters, and I love this little detail of the thumb kind of going into Doomsday's eye here.
And the spikes and the teeth.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a gorgeous shot. So the next one is where this is the third person who split the original splash into three panels, or all actually kind of, yeah, three. And so he punches and does a punch, and you see where there's the panel shatters.
right
So
here.
the panel itself in panel two is shattering like it's glass. And then he's coming in for the double fist swing like in the original, but just from a completely different angle.
Yeah, it's a nice lead in actually from this page and this artist to another artist. Really works well storytelling wise.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it lines up very well. And then, yeah, it's kind of coincidental that they both changed the angle because then you get back to Ray, and Ray went with a straight on shot as well.
Yeah, pretty close to the original, but very cool. Still lots of blood and violence all over the place.
And yeah, I think he did it on purpose, though he may say he did it on accident. But Superman's hair curl is half of a batarang.
Oh yeah, Interesting. Yeah, sometimes subconscious stuff happens, right? When you're doing, someone else will notice it and you didn't necessarily do it on purpose, right?
So this next shot, these are where things are out of order, so you'll just want to go.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll go here.
This next shot, if I remember correctly, is from an earlier issue. And Milo was doing it, and it looked so good, and it flowed so well with his action shots that I just took his images and put them in order.
Gotcha.
So this was from an earlier issue. I think I can't remember which one, but it's from one of the lead up issues, and it was
Yeah.
just a great gory shot. They've got I mean, Superman's got a little bit of the eye beams going. The intestine thing has carried on again to another shot. The broken lettering, the blood that's going. And Milo's another guy that's been in project after project. He's in another one of mine coming up. But just great shots. Then I think the page next to it is where we get back to it's a shot from earlier in the book that we had to skip ahead on. I'm trying to remember how many. Oh, yeah, it was about 4 pages back when Doomsday slugged Superman. So there is a direct comparison in this one.
Let's see if I can just go back real quick.
Yeah.
Uh, where am I now?
So after that one, it's the page right after the knee spike.
This one
Yep.
here.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So
So
that's the reference.
yeah, it's a very direct reference with just again following the theme of upping the gore big time. I mean
Yeah.
the actual pose and everything is
So you see this damage that Superman has here. That's the thing I picked up on, that a lot of the guys, not every guy, but a lot of the guys were including that in their shots, and that's why I decided to throw that into my own as well. So we'll just go back to where we were here, right there, and
go
this
back
page.
to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
and I love the detail of just the insane amount of blood on their fists, on
yeah.
just Superman and Doomsday on both pages. Just looks really cool. Good color job for sure.
Yeah. And both of Superman's eyes have popped out of the sockets.
Yeah, at this point, there's just nothing left.
Yeah. He's actually holding one of them in his other
Right
hand,
here.
caught the eye, like gonna pop those back in.
Right.
So yeah, Milo's were so gory. I was like, I gotta put them back to back, and it created a fight, a moment in the fight anyway, because the
Yeah.
next page is his as well.
It adds a bit of a sequence.
Yeah. So this, oh, we got to, oh yeah, this is fun. This was another fun ad. So if you've seen the projects throughout, if you've seen Image Grand Design, Grand Disaster, Darkest Image 1 and 2, we kept doing these snack cake ads because snack cake ads were super popular in the 80s comic books and I think the 90s as well.
I
So we
remember
kept doing snack cake ad spoofs. So this one, I had wrote it that Doomsday was just down in a bunker. In the original, he's imprisoned in a bunker under the surface of the earth somehow. We don't get a lot of explanation. And this one, he's down in a bunker under the earth, but he's just chilling. He's listening to old records from the 30s in his Doomsday bunker. He's Doomsday in a Doomsday bunker.
bachelor
And
pad.
yeah, he's just eating his snack cakes, listening to the radio, and then runs out of snack cakes, loses his loses his shit, and busts out in anger, starts destroying everything because he's out of snack cake ads until Superman flies in and gives him more snack cakes.
They're actually buds on this one.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, okay, cool. I got snack cakes now. I'm good again.
And who's the artist on this one?
And yeah, he goes by a code name, and I think I've got it on here. Oh gosh, yeah, I can find it in the book real quick on the credits page.
Yeah, I'm not meaning to put you on the spot there. It's just usually the pages have some sort of mention of the artist, right? I guess the ads don't.
Follow-ups, editorial advertisements, and snack cake, Doom Tripper.
There we
Yep.
go. Good job, Doom Tripper.
Yeah, he's the guy who we'll see another bit by him later. So this page here was from earlier in the book. There was early in the book when Superman punches Doomsday in the back.
Oh, it's the second anal fisting shot.
Yeah, so that shot got moved to here because it followed very well upon Milo's punch back and forth.
Yeah.
So even though it's out of order, thematically it fit better here.
Sure.
And the damage again is so intense and severe, it made more sense to have the battle kind of eclipse into this level of violence with the fist exploding through the body rather than it just a punch to the back as the original was. And Superman is far more beat up at this point. Again, the intestines are hanging out. You can see rib at this point.
Yeah.
You close in, and or Doomsday's taking quite the hit. So it's horrifically,
The eye popping out here, which I like, is a nice detail once again.
yeah. Still got that eye problem. His fist is mangled. If you see that right fist, it is broken and twisted.
Yeah.
Which makes sense if you've just been punching stone and spikes.
Absolutely. So the next page we've got
Back on track. Yeah.
this one on the is the original, right? So the aftermath of the double punch by Superman and Doomsday. Both of them
Yeah.
falling back in the shot of the camera lens here. And then we got the reinterpretation here.
Yeah, this was the one I originally was going to do. So I got to the layout stage, and my big ad was to basically make a multi-panel page, but hide it as it's the snapshots from the camera.
Sure. Back when we still took pictures on film.
Right. So I passed it off to Jason, who did a fantastic job of just taking that basic layout, but doing a far better job than I would have done with the finished art. He made Lois's reaction very emotional and got the tears in. And the Jimmy look away is part of what I really like. Is like he's still taking the pictures, but he can't watch because this is leading up to the final moment. So he's finally broken from just taking pictures to he's still doing his job, but he can't look. As we see in the actual film, like Superman's down and Doomsday's grabbing his head, and then Doomsday is going in to actually bite Superman's head.
Nice.
And then there's the little like look up of Superman looking up, and the eye beams start to go. Doomsday's eye goes wide, and Superman blasting the house. This was where there was a slight story change because in the originally they had the double punch out, and I thought that didn't make a lot of sense. And I thought there's been all this back and forth bashing, but what about a shot straight into the mouth? So you've gotten past the armor into whatever the internals are. And that was kind of the idea. It's like Doomsday goes to bite him, but that actually opened him up for this shot.
The soft bits.
So then this next page we have is a bonus page. What happened with it was Jason, after completing the Jimmy Olsen shot, the actual shot that is in the camera lens with Superman shooting into the mouth, he wanted to do a better image of it.
Okay, we see it up here, yeah.
Yes. So he went on and drew an entire page of it and then told me to put this into the lens. And I was like, at its level of detail, if I shrink this down and put it in the lens, it's just going to be lost. So I just included it in as another page because you weren't going to get this level of destruction if you actually saw it in the lens. But the point was, yeah, the heat vision blasting into the mouth and just the whole head exploding, as well as that hand went shooting off. It's really well done. The coloring to it is also really playful. Yeah, KJ John did the coloring on this one and a few others, and really did a nice job on it.
Very cool. So the page on the right refers to
right. Yep.
this one here from the original.
Yep.
Original.
We
funny how they worked Bugs Bunny into there. I don't know why.
Oh yeah.
I just noticed that.
Yeah, there's a page of the family hugging, but we moved that to a little later for thematic reasons.
That said, yeah, we'll go back to it.
Yeah. So we went into following up this action shot. The artist on this wanted to remove the people. Well, he cut down the number of people and threw in another hero of the time and diversified the shot a little bit, but mostly stuck to the same angle. But there's a lot more destruction shown.
Yeah. And then we enter the double page splash pages.
Yeah. And I mean,
So just so everyone has an idea of kind of what we're referring to here, I think if I'm not mistaken, it's like
There's a triple page spread out.
that's it, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, that is
This one here. Yeah.
if you yeah, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, there's the double page that turns into the next one. So yeah, we're following it right. So it's the one before. It's where Lois is holding Superman.
This one here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one. Yeah, the double page. You were correct. And so Anthony just pulled back from the shot more, with the point being that like we said, if this battle really went down, the city would be wrecked. So he pulled away from the shot to do it a lot more like Miracle Man, if you remember the comic Miracle Man, and they have a big battle in that, and the city just
It's
of
it's the exact reference I was thinking of, and I was going to mention myself. It's 100% that double page splash of Miracle Man, where you see the full kind of impact of their whole collision and conflict throughout the city, right? Of
Mhm.
London and Miracle Man,
Yeah,
obviously.
yep. So yeah, Anthony pulled back from the shot to just show. I mean, there's just holes in buildings. Buildings are knocked over. Things are on fire. So many people are coming out of the woodworks from behind. I mean, it's way more figures in the background, just with less detail. He followed along with Doomsday's head being horribly exploded, and Superman, meanwhile, his hand is mangled and not working. Because in the original shot, Superman has a few cuts on him. He's got a cut on each leg and a cut on the shoulder, and his costume's ripped off. But he
Two
looks like he
bruises.
can get
Yeah.
up. And the point was, when we talked about this shot, was like it needs to look like he's not getting up. Like he's done. He is, I mean, he's mangled. He's missing pieces of limbs, not full limbs, but pieces of them. His face is just horrifically smashed. The characters in the background that are overlooking it look mortified like they should.
You got
So,
this guy who's impaled on a piece of building. Very cool.
yeah, that's very Miracle Man.
Yeah. Very
Yeah,
cool. And then this one, just so everyone can see,
follow
harkens back to the next shot
the
here,
triple spread.
the
Yes.
triple spread. Yeah.
Which originally included, like, there's still the shot of Doomsday, and it lines up with Superman falling back and Lois crying. So he did it as a two-page spread, but still getting part of Doomsday into the shot so that you remember he's there, which was a nice touch. Lois has now got her love's blood on her as she was holding him. So it really is much more true to what would be happening. He got the cover shot. Oh no, they do it with the cover and with the actual image of having Superman's
Yeah.
cape on a
The
stick.
iconic shot of the cape on the stick.
Yeah, Superman still looks horribly mangled. I mean, the legs torn open. You've got an arm that's broken, hand that's mangled, and he's bloodied and blue. Doomsday, meanwhile, has the holes in him, so it's far more uh, dramatic. It's far more representative of how bad the city would be destroyed. And it looks like he worked with Anthony because he got a good hole into the Daily Planet instead of it looking as whole as it did in the original.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Definitely the level of destruction is very amped up. Even just the
Hmm.
smoke and the dust and stuff all around.
Yeah, it's a
This
great.
might be, I don't know how weird of a comment this is, but I feel, the original comic came out pre 9/11, right?
Uh-huh.
This obviously was produced way past post 9/11.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but my thoughts of what would happen, visually in a situation where buildings are crumbling and was quite different before 9/11 than when 9/11 actually happened. And then we had actual footage of what happens to buildings that crumble and the dust and all these things. And I feel like artistically that there's something there where now that we've seen those images, we tend to incorporate them more into scenes of destruction like this one here. Like I definitely get a bit of a 9/11 vibe with the broken glass and the dust everywhere and kind of the murky kind of atmosphere that gets generated by all that dust being dispersed.
Mhm. Yeah.
Although these are comic books, people are now bringing those real life elements into their artwork, right? Because again, personally for me, I there's something to the visual of 9/11 that now, I'm aware of, and in a scene that I have to, construct something like this with destruction, I keep that in mind now. Whereas before, it might have been more, just pure imagination, I guess, because I didn't really know what that would look like, right?
Point.
I always there it's again there's something post 9/11 to the way the images and what's being represented. And I like this just little extra touch of the tears here for Lois Lane kind of coming off her chin. I think that's a nice little detail. So this again is Milo. So am I to assume that this is the one that relates to?
Yes. This is the family shot from
That's
before.
right. Let me go.
We thematically moved it as to be more of an end cap of the scene rather than when there was all the reaction shots in a row. So, and he flipped it. He, like a lot of artists, flipped the perspective of rather than them seeing the image on the screen, we know from the television that they're watching it on the screen, but he wrote a story into it by visually showing all the mementos of the graduation, making the emotional impact for them more apparent to the reader, because here's their wall of their son behind them while
Yeah.
they're watching his death on TV. And it was a great point to make. He did it. The original puts two images into one splash, but he added so much more detail of the history behind them
Yeah.
on the couch.
Well, and in the chronology of the book, with the death of a super being a little bit different from the original, I feel like this makes more sense. And also, you don't have to see the screen because we've already seen what's happened, and we know that that's what they're looking at on the screen.
Yeah.
Tell me about this one on the right.
Yeah, this was another fake ad that was done. I had nothing to do with it. It was just a fake ad that was a funny gag of, hey, Superman just died. What do we do with the body? And the gag was because of the not quite the same time period, but when DC decided they were going to kill off Robin, and they had the call in where you could
Yeah,
call of whether he lives or dies in the story. This was a call in to what do we do with Superman's body, with some options of rocketing it into the
yeah.
sun,
Buried
burial
on
at
the sea.
sea. Yeah, encased in something that's like carbonite.
Yeah, I figured it was a reference that Death in the Family for sure. The call-in scheme, pretty infamous from the mid '80s.
Yeah, yeah, very, very funny goof. So this is an extra. Milo did a shot of Superman's enemy. Now this is Lex Luthor, but it's Lex Luthor Jr., but the whole thing where Lex had put his mind in the body of a clone and pretended to be
Yeah,
his own child. Um, and with Supergirl, although this is not the real Supergirl, it's like the alien clone thing that Lex has made, but they're reacting to Superman's death. So it was a nice extra shot.
yeah.
And
Because I
then,
remember these characters were involved in the actual storyline to a certain extent originally, so it makes sense to throw them in here.
yeah, they were involved in earlier parts of the storyline. So him adding this shot of their reaction was made a lot of sense. And then next to it is an ad that's a mock of the original Doomsday is Coming ad. And then we carried on. So we actually, instead of leaving it there, had the battle go a little further of where
Because
I
it
think,
wasn't extreme enough.
right, we wanted to like, let's hammer it home even further. Like, no, let's give absolutely no room for maybe he's going to get up. Let's make it 100% definitive. He dies in this. So I think it's Bloodwing, Bloodstone. I'm forgetting it was Martian Manhunter hiding out in an alternate identity.
Yeah,
Senses that Doomsday is actually still alive. Like he's a piece of him is still living. So Doomsday starts to get up. Superman tells him to get Lois out of there, and he manages to take what little strength he has left and get up for one more punch to take Doomsday down. So we kind of go back to what the original was of the double punch, but now that they are already so much more beat up, than in the original, as this near doomsday corpse is trying to get up.
So this is all extra added original bonus material as opposed to the original issue.
Right. Anthony Angebar did that one. And then Peter DeLuca came in with the big double shot.
This one's pretty intense. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and so this does work off of the original where they had the double shot, but they're so much more bashed, and yeah, both of them, their eyes exploding out of their heads.
This is the final double shot for sure. There's no bodies left after this almost, right?
Yeah.
They just been completely obliterated. I don't know if I'm off base, but I feel like there's a bit of inspiration with this composition. Have you ever seen the issue of Youngblood where Chapel kills himself and he shoots himself in the head?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, with the way the head explodes.
I feel there's maybe a bit of inspiration there. I don't know for sure, but the layout seems similar. I don't know if that was what the artist was going for, but if he was, it's cool because that's a pretty shocking image in and of itself from Rob Liefeld, and not something I see him do a lot of. That level of gore and that level of like body horror destruction, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's pieces of brains coming out of his head. It looks like there's just some crazy stuff going on here.
Yeah. And then there was a slew of colorists who worked on it to help bring the color.
Yeah. Not easy to color.
Yeah. Tons of detail.
A lot of stuff going on.
One final extra page that was really, really well done by Ariel. And so you get the fallback, which was like what was in Jimmy Olsen's original camera shot, is them falling away. So it kind of got moved to here. And Lois is running to Superman's body, and you see the head shot, and you see the body shot as she runs up, but then she picks up the body and it's not attached. Just definitive of like, nope.
Yeah.
No chance he's getting up. It's straight up.
This is it. Yeah.
Yeah, the emotional scream is great. The way he set up the storytelling of like, oh, there's the head. Oh, she's running up to the body. Oh, no, that's not together. That's separated.
Yeah, it's a good bit of storytelling. Everything's framed properly in those first few panels for you to think, well, you know, Superman's head's still being attached when in fact it isn't.
Yeah. And Jimmy Olsen takes the one final picture and says his goodbye.
And that's the end of our storyline.
Yeah.
So that's where we're going to leave it for today. We're going to be moving on next week with part 2 of KAYFABE, The Death of a Super, and we're going to be looking at all the extra material because it's a huge book and there's tons of it. So, you know, won't have enough time to cover it in this video here, so we'll be putting out part 2 next Wednesday for this book here, produced by a slew of very talented indie artists, including myself. My humble little contribution, as you saw the page we talked about a little bit earlier. And props again to Mark for putting this all together and for being more than willing to take a look at this awesome community project, I guess you could call it, that we were all able to come together and succeed in putting out. I'll give you props for that because, again, putting that many artists together, it could spell doom and destruction in any other situation, but it really worked out and the project came to fruition. And we'll be looking at more of that stuff next week.
Yeah, great group of guys, and they all worked very well together and helped each other out on a lot of stuff. There was a lot of crossover of guys helping each other. So it's a great project. Enjoyed working with everybody.
And before we go, Mark, I assume you still have copies of this book. If anyone out there who's watching is interested, they could probably get in touch with you and get that shipped out to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can throw a link below.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll put that in the details. So there you go, guys. That is today's at least half review, the first part of the book, the storyline part of KAYFABE, The Death of a Super. If you guys are subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. We really do appreciate your loyalty. If you're watching but you're not subscribed, please do so below. It really helps the channel out, helps us grow, and helps get us out there to other people who are into comic books just like we are. So once again, thanks for checking us out. Have yourselves an awesome day.
See you guys.
Thanks again, Mark.
Absolutely, buddy.
Like, subscribe, like. King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents STARCRASHER one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.